All right. I'm writing a book and creating a presentation. With that, there's some subjects that I'm discussing that have been kind of bottled up within me for 20 years. I'm not sure if it's a courage thing or it's probably just an unfolding of self that gets to the point of a requirement to start to actually release in divine expression, which is like in the beginning was the word. Everything is uh, creative, generative energy of vibration, which is expression. There's this point of I have to express the thing, and my base personality is to not really do that much. And it's kind of been in me for a while, so I felt maybe today I'd just sit down and say some shit. And this may be the most normal, not a big deal thing to a lot of folks. And it may be the craziest thing that anybody's ever heard to others. So, no notes. I'm just going to flow and see what happens. I'm of the assumption, pretty confident, that all those who are human or alien or whatever are not necessarily the same spiritual energy or spiritual essence. It when you pull it back far enough, everything is of that what I call singular one love, God, source, orb of divinity, that very, very first essence of intention, that which all energy comes from. But I no longer perceive that everybody is obviously everybody's in their own journey, but that everybody is even of the same substance. And it's not a judgment at all. It's just a requirement of layers. And what I can say confidently, not with hubris or better or worse, is that I'm not from here. I love this place. I am immersed in this place. I find it to be joy filled in every way, especially nature primarily. But um, I don't find a resonance that this is my forever home or that I'm from here at all. The exact opposite. And it's taken me a long time to have the ability to even like say that to myself. And there's a lot of stuff inside where I was like, was always trying to take care of everybody else. So I wouldn't even be me. But in my opinion, what we're all here to do is shine your light, which means to truly, truly be the entirety of you, which is to fulfill your destiny in density. And so, what I believe is occurring is that what I perceive is that as individuals, we are vibrational resonance gifted with body. And we're operating through mind. And that we're relating through frequency. So vibration picks up or curates frequency, which sends to resonance, and resonance is kind of dictating our inner world and the reflection of the outer world. Now, in my opinion, it's the same thing with the collective. A lot of folks either don't see that or disagree or skip over it. But the collective itself is operating as a self-serving mechanism of all beehive humanity, regardless of what spiritual level you're on or not, doesn't matter. And the collective is vibrational resonance gifted with body. And it's operating through mind and relating through frequency. And then this place, so we'll call the collective's body, Earth, whatever this Earth is. But then this place, when I mean by this place, I mean everything that could ever be perceived, talked about, looked at, calculated, guessed at here. So anything here inner earth, inner mind, universe, fucking anything, 7 layers of hell and heaven, all of it, is in itself, in my opinion, also vibrational resonance gifted with body, which is some form of density matter, even if it's like just electromagnetic, operating through mind, and relating through frequency. So, in my opinion, the entirety of all of it is functioning within a holding of consciousness. And consciousness is not the real you. Consciousness is that which allows everything to move, including ether and plasma, including thought, including electromagnetic anything, including everything. And consciousness is the requirement for that to function. I'll kind of get to my core point here in a second, but it's very clear to me that there is a real you, and that if there are those that are kind of from different places, not even physically, but just from different spiritual essences, not better or worse, that if some of them are from more of a here or dense perspective, that they would perceive this as the thing, the complete, the all, the revolution, the home, maybe. And in my opinion, that leads to the sciences and the religions and the philosophies all pointing at, we got it figured out, or we're attempting to figure it out, or we're the tip of the spear, and almost kind of pointing at, yes, it's a reflective atmosphere, it's a reflective thing, but not completely allowing themselves to see because maybe they came from this. And I'm saying, I'm not an alien, I'm a regular guy, but something inside me just says, I'm not from here. But I've sat with this for decades, and I'm saying that the real you is not here, and that the real you is real, and the real you is true, and that there's a flow of that is entering, and what you as the character here are paying attention to, opening yourself up to with intention, whether it be nature, other spirits, other people, the real you, your religion, your gods, whatever you're paying attention to and opening yourself up to grows in you. And that you have to go in and expand your own belief structure to then grow. And as you expand your belief structure, you then have the capacity to continue to develop. But most are completely serving the collective, and the collective has been programmed in this time between times as a repetition of fear. And so most are so deeply feeding a fear state that they're just attaching themselves to only because they don't want to be ostracized as a youngin', that everyone's basically middling themselves to make everyone else comfortable who's middling themselves. So nobody expands their belief structure because they're too scared to actually expand themselves than to separate from all of their friends and family, and basically the frequency attachment that they're so used to. It's a different frequency, which means they have to go in and change their vibration themselves, which curates the frequency, which then dictates the resonance. Now, that symptom of being attached to the collective at such a degree almost ensures that those that are doing that will not peek outside and look at, okay, well, what the fuck is going on beyond, whatever this place is beyond. So science, religion, that yes, you get to the deeper esoteric parts of both, that they allude to the fact that there's a reflection of life occurring, or that the observer effect or something. And what I'm attempting to offer is that, I guess, two parts. The real you has, in some form, whether it be starting in this kind of level or some other level, not better or worse, it seems to me everyone on some level has entered into a relationship with this place which is actually operating as a never-ending malleable mind. And we can hear that in the Kabbalah. I'm not getting it from the Kabbalah or Hermetics, but they point to some accurate things. Um, I'm getting it from taking my own advice and sitting with myself for a long fucking time. And then really, really being honest beyond my mind, beyond my body, just with my heart, and not even making it about me, but just like allowing, all right, I'm holding on to nothing left. Now what? And this is not something that I hear a lot of people touching on. I'm not making it about me. In my opinion, everyone has entered into a mind. It's not a mind of an entity or a mind of a dude or a queen, but it functions as a mind and it's not you and it doesn't make it not real. It just means it's malleable. And if you look at it possibly like that, that explains all synchronicities. That explains all basically esoteric perceptions of religion, of science. That explains the very base mechanisms of you, that you are the sacred geometry, and this place is kind of feeding it back to you and showing you images all the time. Explains deja vu, explains your dreams, explains fucking everything. But it's so hard to grasp. And even I forget it sometimes. And then at a deeper level, what this place as vibrational resonance gifted with body and operating through a mind, which is always malleable, and relating through frequency, what it's functioning as, and maybe everything always is, but it's pretty clear to me what it's functioning as is a turning wheel of proliferation of story. And so story is how, again, I don't perceive the consciousness as what we are, but it's holding us here. And it is kind of what the little us, so little you character, the real you, and then the source of all energy everywhere, God, love. And I don't believe the real you is here. But you, little character of you, is a flow of that real you at different siphons, depending on what you're doing. That consciousness itself is relating to itself in its own growth and its own feedback and its own awareness based on and in the requirement of story. And the story is the base function of absolutely everything. And people say it's a simulation. I don't even look at computers and stuff that much anymore, or YouTube stuff, but it's not a simulation. People say like it's a video game. Okay, a video game is a good analogy, kind of, but it's not really like that. So Pong is a very interesting and enjoyable video game for like 10 minutes. Tetris is a very interesting and enjoyable video game for like 20 minutes. And then any type of like Super Mario Brothers, very interesting for an hour. And then some type of video games I don't even know, but they're like very immersed in whatever is beyond Zelda these days. Multiplayer games. What's occurring there is that the individual is enjoying, as the real you, as the player, is enjoying the interaction of not just the character playing the video game, but the growth of them via the story unfolding. So there's no real story in Tetris or in Pong. And in this place, this isn't good or bad. It's not a problem, but it can feed into why it feels like there's like this Satan terrible energy. Why every religion has these things that we can point at, or why people do what's considered to be terrible things, or why it may look in like a conspiracy or Gnostic or whatever opinion as like a prison, reincarnation loop or whatever. It's mostly because there's a requirement for story. And if you look at your own life, you're always telling a story inside yourself all the time. And if you're not telling a proper story, your mind will fill it with other things to make sense of a story because you're not telling a story, because you're not directing yourself spiritually. That's, again, no judgments. But then we fill our mind with all this shit. And where is that even coming from? Mostly from the attachment to the collective. And the collective is being programmed, which kind of feeds into predictive programming and conspiracy and society and everything's falling apart. But isn't that kind of, if you pull back far enough, we're in a time between times, and that's a requirement to get past the second act, to get into the stage where everything falls apart, to start building back up? Isn't it pretty clear? Like the story of the last 100 years has been slowly teetering up like a roller coaster, and then like around 2000 uh whatever 2016 it just started fucking going off a cliff, right? It went down. It's falling apart. Shit's crazy. Well, if you were writing a story, isn't that part of what you would do? Wouldn't you create this incredible drama so that the one in the story would have some awareness of themselves? Now, what is it that you're supposed to do? A little bit of a tangent just popped in. I want to say I don't believe or agree with necessarily anybody on anything, and I don't use that as a chastising or a way to bring anybody down either. So I see everyone, including myself, as remarkable divine limitless spirit energy, and we are constantly unfolding, and through that unfolding process we get caught in basically our own layers of crazy and confusion, and in this time between times it's mostly been based on what we pay attention to. But in general I feel like it's been like that for a long time, and those that sit by themselves enough are those that are kind of ordained to have to say something to somebody else, mostly are the ones that don't want to. And our society is so clearly unhealthy that it's almost like we're fighting this thing that is hurting everyone, but it can't be pointed at in any one way. So if there was the potential that we're living not in a matrix, in my opinion, the matrix is in you. It's the filter of you that you've accepted unknowingly. It's not, things feel like it's not fair. Yeah. Well, maybe everything in the fucking story that you're reading, uh, Frodo didn't know what he was signing up for. That shit wasn't fair. Maybe everything in Tolkien's life wasn't fair. He went to war and shit got sideways, whatever. Everything, and basically every story for everyone comes to scenarios where they have to look at themselves and kind of say, I don't know if I'm going to make it. And I didn't know I was signing up for this, but in my opinion, we're kind of signing up for it from the greater view, going, yeah, it won't be that hard. And you get there and it's like, holy fuck. And you just attach on to what everybody else is doing. And then we're in the play of density. So the ego is involved. And the ego is a beautiful scenario of, there's no real ego. Everything's one thing, but the ego itself is described as this thing that you have to kill. But really, the ego is serving you so that you have some feedback to figure out what the fuck is going on when you're a little kid. Because this place is dense. You scrape your knee, somebody accidentally hits you in the head with a bat, people hurt your feelings and yell in your face. You're like, what the fuck? Your teeth fall out? And then through all that process, you're supposed to grow up and make money, which doesn't even exist. And then you're supposed to somehow figure out what your destiny is. And nobody ever does that when they're tied to the collective in this time between times. So those that are attempting to figure out are so fucking far ostracized, they're almost like pissed off about it. They're so far ahead they can't explain anything to anybody else. I'm not talking about myself, just I see that it's pretty common. It makes perfect sense. Meandering quite a bit here, but what I'm attempting to offer is that there's nothing that's actually wrong. And just as a side note, non-duality 100% is within this place. It's not the beyond. It's not the fullness. It's not everything. It's a perception of a feeling of an awareness here that's beautiful, but is incomplete. Period. It's here-ness. Here. Okay. But you are more than that. Period. So, if we're in a mind that we've somehow entered into and agreed to, in my opinion, and that mind functions via the connection and the base frame of consciousness, which functions itself on story, then what is it that we possibly could be doing that would benefit ourselves and everyone in the greatest possible way? And if you look at it like I'm reading a story of myself, or I'm reading a story of whatever character it is that I like, if they started to just focus on all the fucked up shit in the story and you were reading it, how long would you keep reading that book before you put it down? How long would you keep watching that series? I think that gives a good kind of feedback mechanism of what is it that we're actually doing to ourselves when we think we have figured out or we're living in fear. Because fear here is, all this is my opinion, obviously. Fear here is an external. Everything is an internal creates the external reflects the internal. But the game isn't that you can see the internal. Or what the fuck is the point? Like if all of you came here, we would break this thing, so there'd be no point. So there is a point. Now, and everybody's kind of right from where they're standing and everything. That's an easy thing for us to, myself included, to take for granted. But our fears here are very difficult to see inside. We can feel them sometimes, but when we're in association with anyone else, especially attachment to the collective, or especially being kind of hypnotized by any type of other information, books, videos, other people talking, anything, then we forget about our inner fears and just go into like a receptive mode. And it takes a great balance and great courage and a putting down of everything, almost slipping a little bit past the mind itself to go way down deep and actually address our fears. Address, accept, forgive, let go. So what I've found is that you can perceive your external fears and then feel them somewhere in here. And if you try your best over and over and over, eventually you get to the place where you primarily do not react. You're not reactive. And from that non-reactive place, you can then see, go sit by yourself and see the correlation between the external fear and that feeling and what actually it is that's inside you, because that's the only way it could actually show up, is if it's inside you. It has to hold some resonance. I'm not getting this from anybody else. It's just coming out how it's coming out. So in that resonance in you, you then go sit and look at it. I forgive everything. I forgive everyone. I forgive myself. And then you go and you sit and look at that thing. And you won't want to look at it. And there's like little avoidances that will pop up in the deep dark of you. And there's different things that will catch your attention. There's different stories that will show up. There's all these different scenarios that will keep you from fully having the courage to say, bitch, I said I'm going to look behind that door today. I'm looking behind that door. And then you force that crickety ass door open and you go in there and you see what it is, and it's you. And you go in there and you address and you accept and you forgive. And you naturally will just let go of that thing and you will love it. And then there will be more open space of you. And then with that more open space, you can then go into your heart. I know I'm preaching hard here, but you can go into your heart because you're not as attached in this brief moment. Go into your heart and begin to ask yourself, what is it that is true to me right now that I am to do? And you will receive one or two very clear things. And you, at the same time, begin to expand your belief structure like, I am capable of doing more. And that's literally, if you're looking at a video game or a character and you're reading this, you're watching it, you're leveling up. This, as far as I'm aware, like, this is the fucking process. And stories are just telling us this process in ways that are entertaining. But if we start to look at it like the process of us is the fucking entertainment, and this place is amazing, and this is absolute joy in the growth of ourself, then there is no goddamn limit on anything, including what's considered to be humanity. But if we don't do that, then people will feel lower and lower and lower and lower and smaller and smaller. And because they feel smaller and smaller, they will become more and more in self-requirements for servitude. And that servitude will be propagated by the mind of this place, which just is creating everything, just as your mind is, as it's occurring. And then bad guys will take advantage of those scenarios. It doesn't mean that nobody else exists. It doesn't mean it's like NPCs or whatever conspiracy. I know all the conspiracies, I just don't look at them anymore. Because this is deeper. It just fucking is. And it's deeper than every religion. It just fucking is. And it's deeper than any philosophy, and it's deeper than anything that anybody can actually completely describe. You are living within a story mechanism of you. The collective is living within a story mechanism of itself, and this place is operating within a story mechanism of itself too, and it is feeding on, in a bad or good way, the energy of the collective story and of your story. So if you feel disempowered, if I feel disempowered, it's the fucking I don't know if you can see that. It's all the story you are telling yourself. Sometimes stories unfold very dramatically, very quick, but even when that happens, it takes a little while for it to sit in with the character. I know this kind of sounds like crazy shit that somebody would say, okay, what, you think I'm fucking Mickey Mouse? Like, I don't exist? No. I'm saying that the functionality of this place is moving in a way that will match up with whatever the inner story is of the individual and the collective. And if you look at your mind and you look at your dreams and you look at how other people's minds bend and blend together, it explains everything. Like, we are operating in a way that's bending around and then reflecting each other to ourselves and each other at the same time. Like, how magnificent is that? And then also with our cultures, which are only, at bare minimum, stories, traditions, stories. And that consciousness is this actual material that is making all this thing go. So if you have something, everybody does, but we just don't get past our body and get past our mind and get into our heart. If you have something that you're here to do, if you have something that you really, really, really know that you have to do, but you're fucking terrified of it, that means you have to do that thing. That means you're right about that. Because if you were writing a story, it would be not that great unless there was this absolute requirement in this individual to unfold some part of themselves. Whether it goes over 1,000 lives of reincarnation, or it's just one, or they're like the lowliest being ever, or Gollum, or they're fucking Gandalf. Doesn't really matter. They're both operating based on the story and the vibration and the expansion of themselves. So whatever the fear is what you must do. I know that's Jungian, but it's obvious. It's true. Your fear here, external, is your mirror here. And that's how it works in stories too. So there's this polarity of love and fear is the essence of all mechanistic energy here. But inside this little love, like the little you, inside this little love is the essence of what's made of this singular one love, this first energy, this God. In the essence of fear here is, you can say Satan and all this other shit, but this fear here is the essence of singular one love, God, the original energy. That's not of this place. I don't give a fuck. I'm standing on that 100%. Now, I'm going kind of hard. If a story was being written in which one had the opportunity to release, which is accomplish, which is act on, which is physically going and doing the thing, the trek, the journey, the adventure, the overcoming of themselves by fighting off, Beowulf's monster, then they inside won't let themselves, you, me, we won't let ourselves fully become ourselves until we address that fucking thing. Like that is and we don't even know it. We can't even see it. We don't even know what it is. That's the tricky shit. Like this place is a fucking riddle. But as you unfold and figure out this place, you simultaneously have the opportunity to expand your belief structure and continue to unfold. You go on a 1,000-mile walk, do the Appalachian Trail or something, you're not the same being as you were when you started. But you can't plan out and know exactly what's going to happen. So, how do we know what it is that we're meant to do? It's what most scares you. Excuse me. And you know that already. I know that. Everybody knows that. But we live 99 point whatever percent of all of our existence, and time is bending around you, but we're all basically tied to the collective. So we're basically in the collective's pool of time, which is like Saturn's rings. It's like the circumference of our energy. But we spend almost all our time, almost all of it, doing everything but addressing our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 main fears. And if we just address one fear at a time, like I'm fucking full hogging this one fear, and then I expand myself, I don't have to do anything. I just don't shrink from it. Get back into my heart and breathe. You don't have to know every single exercise and every single whatever. You just got to be your fucking self. And then you keep it moving, another fear is going to show up. So if you watch closely, I'm not a big critique on society, but I'm definitely not for society. If you watch closely, like most schooling, most social orders or whatever have been programming us into, like, human beings can be trained. It's obvious. And human beings can get used to anything. It's obvious. So what hurts the most is when human being is pointing out to humans that they are defending what they got used to, which was their training, which isn't even fucking good for them. It's the antithesis of what's good for them. It's the inversion of what's good for them, which is comfort is the welcome mat to great discomfort. Almost everybody in almost every single way is sitting around spending 99% of everything not addressing their one fucking big fear, which is just step one of what they're here to do. And they're just walking around talking shit, swap and spit about what they see. But they can't comprehend the fact that what they see is based on their frequency, and their frequency is based on their vibration. Their vibration is being dictated by the collective, which is telling them subliminally to stay small. And if you stay small, you're never going to have the courage to address your own fucking fear. And that's why you're here. So, to accomplish your destiny in this density, what you must do is stop all this shit and just look for yourself, in yourself, what is my one biggest fear? It doesn't mean you have to become, I mean, obviously, I'm not in any way insinuating anybody becomes an adventure junkie or whatever. It's not about overcoming your fear of heights, although that basically just means you have something you're holding on to that you're scared to let go of. But uh, it's about growing yourself into a place in which you are on a consistent basis, most attuned with what you're here to do, which means you're also in tune with my inner fear, my next step, and not being fully led by who fucking knows what. All that being said, you are divine limitless spirit energy. And whether you're from here or from somewhere else, or you will go somewhere else or whatever, the real you isn't here. And in my opinion, this entirety and as a fractal, the collective, which is a good thing, not a bad thing. It's just we're in a weird, odd time between times. And the little you, the character of you, is in itself here functioning as vibrational resonance gifted with body, operating through mind, and brain is body, so mind is separate, and relating through frequency. You entered or are operating within a never ending, malleable mind. And it and the character of you function on story. This is, if this resonates with you at all in any way, it is an incredible fucking gift. What's tricky is how quickly we forget. Like, this place, in my opinion, the beyond is so incomprehensible. I'm not trying to be humble, just so incomprehensible, but there's no way that anyone from here could ever do justice in any type of causation or correlation of what's occurring there. This place and everything measured here, yeah, probably is all turtles all the way down. But that has no fucking effect on what anything else is. Like, if you could picture some energy that is the real you, the feeling of the real you, or God, or love, and then there's this portal that you're going to enter into, and you're going to go into this place, and it's called, you know, the universe and Earth or whatever. Aliens, anything from here, right? Then what do you think? Like, if you were a character in a book and you were being read, and you came to the realization as the character in the book that you were being read, so that's also you, okay? But you weren't being read here. So you could come to this realization. That's mind-bogglingly amazing. However, what does that imply about what that character, that reader's life is like, and what fears they have to address? Like, I don't. There may be some similarities, but I just don't see that this place it has any correlation to anything of the beyond at all in any way. I see this more as possibility of a one-off and very unique, and the rules, the principles, everything may be completely different somewhere else. And again, I'm not talking about planets. Anything that can be talked about here is of here. So we have this opportunity here while we're here. This is how I feel for myself. We're kind of hiding this or running from it for a long time, but we have this opportunity while we're here. I have this opportunity to do justice to my destiny and not slink out on whatever God or love or my higher self whispered to me. Just slinking out on the potential to share what's really going on hurts way more than the fear, or to participate in what's really going on. And we are so strong and so amazing and so beautiful and so creative that we have the ability. There's the old Vedic poem about this, I believe. But we have the ability to create our own hells and our own heavens. And that even by doing that doesn't mean that this is all there is or that this is the one life. And counting years in this place is like, okay, but that's, how does your mind work? Is there an edge to it? How far does it go? Does everything somehow just fit together? You don't even pay attention, it just fits together? And that there's a great confusion in there too? And you're battling with yourself constantly? Isn't that kind of the same thing that's happening out here? Overgrowth and cutting it back, and you can feel some weirdness and you can feel some love, and all of a sudden it's just like it does it by itself. No one will ever. You ever notice how you, if anybody as a collective or individual looks far enough into any subject, they never, ever, 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 ever get to the absolute bottom of anything? There's always more. There's always more. There's always more. No matter what it is. This life begets because you beget, because it's flowing through you. And yet this place is showing you the allegory of what you are and what you're here to do. So we are this perfect essence and energy of love. And there's hardship. And that kind of drives us crazy a little bit. It's almost like we didn't sign up for it. And it's mind boggling and confusing, and crazy is just holding on to confusion. And so there's all these religions that explain why and how, or Buddhism, not a religion, but. And yet, all of that, if you look genuinely with your entire being and don't shrink away and don't, a big thing that everybody does is hold on. We're holding on internally to something to keep us safe. Like, bitch, you're already safe. You're big. You're bigger than this whole place. But if we really look, everything everyone's ever said, everything everyone's ever done, no matter who or what it is, this is not in a way to put it down, Siddhartha or Yeshua or anyone, but it's of here. And it's of this story here. And this story here in the back is folding on into itself, and in the front is unfolding, and it just keeps flowing like that. And in that is your story that keeps flowing like that. And so we look back at history, and we look back at all this proof, and we look back at anything we're like into, and it's just never ending. There's more and more proof. There's more and more proof. But what the fuck is proof? I'm not against it. I'm not against chemistry. I'm not against anything. I'm just pro wisdom. You know, I'm not passive or aggressive, just wise enough to be selective. How much of our lives are we focusing on everything that we may be somewhat drawn to, that we're just habitually doing, even if it's like the master thesis of all master theses, or PhD or whatever, the greatest equation of all time, okay? But what are you and who are you And how does this place work for real? Because if you're running tests on it, you're testing the reflection of it. If it's a mind, it will always bend. The way you find that is not out there, you find it within. If it's a story, rewrite your story. And you don't rewrite it by going back and erasing the prologue and the parts that are scary. You just write more and more in the series, that it then becomes this masterpiece. You live in what you create. You are the art of life. This place is reflecting you. But it's not, I guess, this rambling, I'll stop now, but the essence of what I'm trying to say is it's not fixed. Nothing is fixed in any way. The original core of everything is cymatics, and that those cymatics are beyond here, but they're also reflected here. And that cymatics is basically just your core vibration. And you don't need to go like tinker with your vibration with some machine. You look at your fears, you address your fears one by one, you just naturally unfold just like you would as a character in a book, and you start to look at yourself with respect and love that you are doing justice to your destiny for your true self, which eventually, not directly, but eventually is that same exact union with love, with God. And God is love, that source, that original creation energy is everything. It can be no other way. So you're not separate from that. But you're here to be you. You're not here to agree with everybody about everything. It doesn't mean don't be cool with people, but like this place needs you. And the more you dumb yourself down to fit in with the collective or anything else, only because we're used to it, we can defend what we're used to, even if it's our programming that goes against our very core nature. The more that we do that as individuals, the more we're serving a thing that's making it harder and harder and harder on anybody else who enters this mind thing. So if this mind thing continues on any level, anybody who comes into it the next couple of times would be like, what the fuck was that? And that's kind of where we're at right now. Like jumping out of this thing, it's like, whoa, that was kind of awesome and kind of weird, scary as shit. Well, a lot of hurt feelings and unfairness. Well, what if you were living in a life of hurt feelings and unfairness and you had the opportunity to step back? Like, what would be the greatest thing the character could do in the book? Step back. In the video game, what if the character in the video game just stepped back and stopped running and just went, I see you. Looking at your greater self, the real you. It's like, all right, I'm open. Flow in here, bitch. Let's do this. Because everything but that, I mean, that can be in any form of God and love or religion or philosophy that anybody desires. But for me, it's the real me. The second that you do that and you dedicate yourself to it, say, this is it, all the little trappings of like the little bad guy characters of the video game or the antagonist, or like if you were the reader of that book, you could just feel in that moment, oh, the antagonist just lost the wind in its sail, didn't even know it. How do you kill the bad guy? Like, what do you think Beowulf's monster means? What do you think slaying the dragon means? What do you think Frodo taking the ring means? It means stop focusing on everything else and conquer yourself. The alchemical process, the hermetics, the philosopher's stone, the Holy Grail. I know that's all kind of Western, but it's the same with the Eastern. You must face you. You must let go of definitions. You must stop trying to fit the grandness of yourself, which is incalculably bigger than this place into these little boxes. You must stop. I don't think I should be saying you must stop. That's not right. But we would do a lot better if we would focus on our individual fears and not the judgments of those that are just playing the bad guy. Because if you're reading a book and you're seeing the character worried about the bad guy all the time, be real honest, how does that book end? Compared to how do you want it to end? There's nothing holding you down. There's nothing limiting you. Sit by yourself for a little while. Go into your heart. Forgive everything. Forgive everyone. Forgive yourself. The fears from the outside, go inside with them. Accept, address, forgive, let go. You grow by expanding your belief structure. And then swing, bitch. Swing as big as you can, directly in line with those fears. That one fear that you overcame. And the second you swing physically, because it takes intention, attention, action, intention and attention of focus, action is friction. You combine the focus and the friction, that's the power of creation, and you will grow. And you won't even be worried about that thing that was holding you down your whole fucking life. You won't even have it in you anymore. That's how you get rid of things. You address them and you grow past them. There is no end to this thing. There is no way to win this thing. There's no problem in this thing. It's just you learning and overcoming you, and this place is reflecting you to you. It is you. That's got to be enough. All right. I love you. Prima Voltus Interior Arm.